Welcome back to Holistic Healing with Lorrie podcast. This episode, we're going to be talking about detox. So I remember when I was super sick, bedbound for those 8 to 10 years of chronic fatigue and mecfs when I was in my 20s. I remember just reading all this stuff about detox and knowing that I needed to do it. But every time I tried to do it, it was a disaster. It just made me so much worse, and usually for a long time. So, just like when we talk about doing a parasite cleanse or many parasite cleanses, is what it usually takes, and doing these other treatments, if you're treating Lyme, if you're treating mold, if you're treating viruses, anything, candida, we have to, and if you're detoxing, you have to make sure of a couple things first. We're going to go through those in just a bit, but there are some signs that you need a detox. Now, the other thing about this is that it's not just a one and done kind of thing. When you take a look at the environment that we live in these days, and all the different toxins that are around us. And I'm not saying that the way that society has developed here is a horrible thing. I'm not saying that either, but our bodies have not had the time to catch up with all these new things that we have been introducing into the environment. And I do think that it would be better for us to take a look at the downstream effects of all these things like glyphosate and other things that we're using. But I also don't think that I personally don't want to vilify where we are right now, what we're experiencing right now. Anyway, because we come in contact with so many different toxins on all day, every day, including while we're sleeping with things like EMFs, it's just a given. You want to be detoxifying your body, I would say every day, but then also to do a more targeted detox a couple of times a year, just like you want to be doing parasite cleansing a couple times a year, even if you're well, right? If you're chronically ill, then that's a whole other thing. You want to be doing that much more until you get well. What are a couple of the signs that your body is having a tough time and that you need to do a targeted detox? The first one I would say is to look at how often you're pooping. This is where we start with everything. This is the biggest part of your drainage pathway. There are lots of different parts to your drainage pathways, but you also want to make sure that you're pooping regularly before you start a targeted detox, because otherwise you just keep recircling those toxins, right? You're getting your body to release toxins, but those toxins are just continuing to recirculate throughout the body, which causes even more problems, and it's going to make you feel horrible. So make sure you're pooping first, please, always. And the reason that actually is a sign that you need to do some detoxing anyway is because constipation it's not normal, y'all. I don't know about you growing up, but when I was growing up, I was constipated a lot. And when I would go to the doctor, it was like, as long as you've pooped once or twice this week, we're okay. And knowing what I know now, I know that is not the case at all. You need to be pooping at least once a day, preferably twice or more. But I also know that if you're dealing with diarrhea, then that is indicating a problem as well, or going back and forth between the two. That's letting us know, especially the constipation side of things, that the liver and gallbladder are probably stopped up. They're probably sluggish, which is another thing that happens a lot for people these days. And especially if you're dealing with a chronic illness, your liver and gallbladder are definitely going to be struggling. So let's get into some of the specifics. If you have some or any of these symptoms, then your body is giving you some signals that you need to detoxify and do it on a regular basis, and also that you probably have some hidden infections. Skin problems, we're talking about rashes, acne, things like that. Food and scent intolerances or chemical sensitivities, How many of you are dealing with that? Constipation, diarrhea, other digestive issues like we talked about before. If you get sick a lot, even if you get sick when it seems like nobody else is getting sick, that's a definite indication that there are some things going on underneath the surface that you want to be taking a look at and want to start systematically taking care of. Unexplained headaches, lower back pain, general aches and pains, especially if you're dealing with fibromyalgia or achy joints or anything like that, low energy, fatigue. If you wake up in the morning and you feel like you should be rested, but you're not feeling rested, that's a good indication that there are, again, some issues going on underneath here. If you're having trouble either gaining weight or losing weight, can go both ways. And brain fog. Anybody out there dealing with brain fog? Yeah. As far as actions for you to take, again, you want to make sure that you're preparing for a targeted detox. We don't just want to jump into it if you're constipated or if you're not doing some other supportive things. So if you can get to a sauna, especially an infrared sauna, that's going to be super supportive. You want to start off by, again, making sure that you're pooping every day. If you're having problems with that, there's a wonderful product that we use that's called Oxy Powder. Now, there are some, I suggest just doing a little bit of research before you start taking it, because could create some interesting situations for you if you don't know what to look out for there. And then I recommend the Cellcore products. We sell those in the Lorrie Rivers Holistic Store. And they're just some great products that you want to be using while you're doing a detox. And there are a couple of different ways that you can actually do a detox, right? So the products that I always recommend using are your minerals. In Cellcore terms, this is called CT minerals. Your BCATP, this supports the mitochondria, right? And it takes energy for the body to detox, especially if you're doing a targeted detox. So you want to be doing that. The third thing is to take a binder. Now, you might even find that once you've started the CT minerals and the BCATP and the binder, that your body actually starts to detoxify automatically. This happens for some people because their body is like, oh my gosh, you're giving me some help here, so let me start dumping some toxins, right? So we do find that sometimes. So the binder, again, this is specifically a Cellcore binder, which is called biotoxin binder. And I much prefer the Cellcore binders because they are selective binders, which means that unlike charcoal, unlike zeolite, unlike bentonite clay, these binders are selective, meaning that they bind to the toxins, not to your nutrients. And those other binders that I was talking about, the traditional binders, those do bind to your nutrients. Now, chlorella does not bind to your nutrients, but it's also not as powerful as the Cellcore binders that we use. So your biotoxin binder, right? We've got 3 in place there. And then the fourth one is called KL support. This is another Cellcore product, and this is specifically kidney and liver support. This is so that, again, you can get those drainage pathways open, and so that you're supporting your body before you start to prod it, to urge it to start dumping a whole bunch of toxins. You may have heard of a Herxheimer reaction before. This is when your body starts to dump toxins faster than it can handle them. And again, then those toxins just keep on getting recirculated throughout the body as opposed to leaving the body. As far as ways that you can targetedly detoxify your body, you can do a series of coffee enemas. This is super effective for not only signaling the body to do more detoxification, but also to go ahead and pull out those toxins that the body is spitting out, right? Then again, I mentioned the infrared sauna. And you can also, Cellcore has a specific group of things that you can do. It's when we're talking about detoxification, in my mind, we're also talking about eradicating hidden infections at the same time, because, or once your drainage pathways are open, because they're so closely linked. So some of the ways that you can actually get the body to actively detoxify is to use some of the Cellcore antiparasitics. And when we think about toxins, another thing that I forgot to mention is that they're the toxins that come from outside of us. So these are your environmental toxins, the things that you breathe in, the things that you eat, the things that you put on your skin, and then, of course, the air that you breathe, and then also just being around other people and what inhale as far as viruses and things like that. And there are things that we do to detoxify each one of those. And what I'm actually realizing as I'm talking about all of this is that I personally don't really recommend just doing one targeted detox. My personal recommendation would always be to be supporting your body's drainage and detox system every day, and for you to be doing your parasite cleanses, to be doing your candida support, and to be taking care of the hidden infections, what we call the hidden epidemic. And that includes all the things that I mentioned earlier, as far as we start off with parasites, and then moving into things like mold and Lyme later on down the line as we get to the smaller and smaller parasites. Because then your body actually is able to detox more effectively along the way, as and you're doing it along the way as well. So you're lowering the toxic burden that's coming in from the outside. You're lowering the toxic burden that's already in your body by using these supportive Cellcore products. And then you're also lowering the toxic burden by removing parasites and other pathogens that are in the body, things like mold that create mycotoxins, right? All the critters that are living inside of you are creating toxins as well. So we want to be addressing all of that. My hair is driving me crazy today for some reason. All right. So that's my take on detox. Basically, if you have any chronic symptoms, you need to be detoxing on a regular basis, and you need to be addressing the underlying hidden infections. Period. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful for you. The bad news is that it's not just about one 5-day detox. It's not just about a juice cleanse. I do not recommend juice cleanses, by the way, for a number of reasons that I won't go into right now. But if you study with me, you know what those reasons are. And so it seems like it's bad news, but the bottom line is that if your body is giving you these symptoms, then it's telling you that there is an underlying root cause for these symptoms that it would be really beneficial for you to address. All right. Hopefully that was helpful. I'll make sure that we have some links to some of those super helpful products so that you can at least get started, right, on this healing path. And please share with your friends, and I'll see you in the next podcast.